The only thing our kids had ever seen was mum or dad just tap a card to get what you want, when you want, anywhere you go, 24/7. And it's essentially, if you think about it from a kid's perspective, that's a magic wand. And I just went, my God, that's the worst financial lesson you could ever give anyone, especially your own kids. Like anywhere we go, 24/7, I've got this magic wand here and just bang, 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 and we get what we want.
Welcome to Checks and Balances, brought to you by Partners Life. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And today we've got Jovan, co-founder of SquareOne, here to talk to us about how you can make your kids financially literate.
Jovan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, chaps.
That was a mouthful.
Great to be here.
Not going to lie. We got there.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for this one because a lot of our clients talk to us about, we've made some money or we want to make sure our kids don't suffer the way that we did around finances. We want to put them in a better position. So SquareOne, that's what it's all about. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation about your clients kind of asking that question, because that's really where we came at it from. Myself and Jamie, two co-founders, two dads, and we didn't want to see our kids go through the same painful lessons in the same painful ways that we experienced them growing up. So I can probably give you a couple of minutes on that context.
So what was it like for you growing up with money then, in terms of like the experience and learning about it and becoming financially literate?
Well, for us, there wasn't any.
Yeah, same.
So that's not a great start.
Two parents who are bankers. Yeah.
And it means, right, that it's, and I think it's probably a pretty Kiwi thing as well, where it's maybe a bit of a taboo topic. If you don't have a lot, it's not something that you talk about. And then we don't teach it in school. It's not part of the curriculum. The tools aren't there to give hands-on experience, et cetera, et cetera. And so this landscape, certainly that I grew up in, money wasn't talked about, and it was a case of, well, you'll turn 17 and you'll leave home, you'll leave school, and then, hey, best of luck.
Yeah.
And it's up to you, and you will probably make every mistake that I made, because that's how it happened for me. That's how it happened for my parents and their parents and their parents and their parents. And so, having, been fortunate enough to, through my career and some travel and managing to get some hands-on experience with money, and then looking at my two daughters, and with Jamie, my co-founder, he's got three kids as well. We were looking at our kids and wondering, how are we going to do money? How are we going to do pocket money for you? How are we going to teach you how to earn a dollar, how to save it, how to spend it, what it can do for you? It's a tool at the end of the day. And coming back to NZ and realizing that nothing had changed since I was that age was pretty sort of shocking revelation. And there were a few kind of real light bulb moments where I remember going, this has to be changed. Something has got to be done completely differently, or we're just doomed to repeat the mistakes of generations past for generations into the future.
Yeah.
So how does SquareOne fix that problem?
It fixes that problem by giving, first and foremost, it gives access to use real money. So SquareOne, I always talk about it as connecting the dots between earn, spend, save, and we've got give and invest coming soon. But the primary three that are in there already are earn, spend, and save. So how do I earn a dollar? Okay, we can have automatic pocket money or not. Every family is different. Everyone has their own values around money, and it's funny how quite often they're very strongly held beliefs. My way is the right way. So we've built something that caters to all different beliefs. So you can have automatic pocket money, for example. Then you can have additional jobs, and those jobs can be free or paid. And so each of those is a little financial lesson. And we know, I'll go into a few tangents here with a long rambling answer to a short question.
Yeah.
But we know that any kind of education is best delivered. It's not a big, massive one-off thing and you go, here you go, you've had education. It's little and often, frequently over a long period of time to develop habits and understanding. So doing those small jobs around the house where you can contribute, some are free, some may be done to as a a threshold to earn the pocket money.
Yep.
And then there are also in SquareOne you can do additional jobs for additional money. So you have then as a child and a parent a chance to sit down and you actually negotiate the value. It's a platform to facilitate that whole conversation. Like, what is it worth to make your bed in the morning? Should that be free, or is that something you get paid for? What about chopping firewood? What about walking the dog, babysitting your little sister? Whatever it is, you have that negotiation, and then the child gets to practice the art of negotiation.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
then the understanding, right, of, okay, well, that's worth $1, that's worth $2. Then, so that's the kind of earn component. And then save, we call them pockets, not accounts, because we're not trying to force you into bank language and banks' ways of doing things. So in SquareOne, you have savings pockets. You set up a goal in that pocket. So you're saving towards your first skateboard, whatever it might be. And then you get to see your progress, ticking up as you do the jobs, as you save toward that goal. You get that feeling of setting a goal, working towards it. That's all about delayed gratification, which is massive life skill, which is not necessarily just a money habit, but it's a value that then becomes a money habit eventually. So then understanding how to save towards something with money that you have gone out and rendered from the universe for yourself by the dint of your own labor, and then choosing with your own determination and your hands on the steering wheel of your own life about what goal you're driving towards, and then hitting it. And then the spend component is having your own card. And it's actually, traditionally been really the access to those kind of tools, like a first card, the barrier is really high. Like, you'll need to take a day off work. You'll need to visit a justice of the peace with an original birth certificate to get it witnessed and stamped. It's like arcane.
Yeah.
So getting that first card, it's not just about getting cards into the hands of kids. It's about the realization that they can then, once you have that control and the empowerment and the access to that monetary system, you can then participate in it. You can make your own purchase and make your own decisions. So the empowerment that brings and how fast that accelerates kids along that, all of those lessons, we hear from parents by the tens of thousands. They can't believe the progress their kids have made. They thought that they would be, that financially switched on when they were 17, not 7.
I've got so many questions.
I know.
So
I could see. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Okay. Do you think? Because I'm just thinking about like teaching your kids financial literacy, and also the responsibility of bringing up like a decent human being that is a good component to contributing to society. I feel like money is not the only component of that. There is definitely I'd be keen for your thoughts. Do you think there is a link between how you deal with money and also like the raising of a child? Like you talk about delayed gratification and you have to save to do this, and you are responsible for looking after you, because you're also teaching them their responsibilities, right? You got to, make your bed, or look after your little sister while we go out, or whatever it might be. Do you think there's a lap over between how you raise children, and then
that's an existential question.
The way they I'm just
Are you saying money is the root of all evil in children?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, that's a massive question, and I want to be careful not to put myself forward as some sort of qualified expert in child psychology or parenting. I'm a parent who's, we're all learning as we go on that journey, for sure. One of the core tenets in SquareOne is that money's not the most important thing. SquareOne, when you look at it, it's okay, it's all about money. Earn money, spend money, save money, get a card, money, money, money. Actually, like I say, the core tenet is money's not the most important thing in life. The most important things are free. That might be a bit cliche, but those, we believe that to be the case. Most important things are free, and by being capable with money, it gives you the dignity and eventually the freedom to focus on those things which are most important. Don't know if that exactly answers your question,
Yeah.
but I do see definite overlaps between general values and how money's treated.
It certainly teaches them around, like, there's components of teaching them about responsibility, and that delayed gratification. And to your point around the best things in life are free, I certainly get where you're coming from with that. Money is a tool to help you live the life you want to live, right? And if your money is not in a certain degree of order, it does make the free things harder. So, like, if you think around the conflict it creates with your family and all of those components as well. The other really thing I'm very interested in, so I've got a 20-month-old son, Cooper, and you can imagine
nice.
as a financial advisor for over 10 years, I've seen families do it really well, and I've seen families do it really poorly in terms of how they educate their kids, and parents where they've actually got quite a lot of money, but they just give it away, and these kids grow up and you're like, nobody's going to want to spend any time with you. I've been thinking about the system that I'm sure, he's not even 2 yet. I'm sure it doesn't surprise you. I've already been thinking about the Pocket Smith system, the pocket money system I'm going to implement.
Yeah.
I'm keen to hear your thoughts around, like, yeah, sure, there's the whole, like, kind of everybody's different, but what do you think are the good principles around a pocket money system, or for parents out there listening that are going, how do I go about this? What kind of tips would you give them?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And as we sort of touched on earlier, like, everyone's got their own views about, you hear some people like, it's an outrage, you can't pay your kid to make their bloody bed. They should, you've got to do that. And then other parents we've seen who would, pay their kid like $400 a week pocket money. You go, that's extraordinary. But then they sit down and they go, right, out of that $400 comes your rent. And then you're going to contribute this much to food. This is going to buy your shoes. This is going to help pay for you, whatever those costs are for your school stationery. Like, sit down and sort of run them through a whole budget, which was a really interesting approach. So there's an element of that. I think for us, like, sharing costs on some bigger items and going, okay, you want a certain pair of shoes. That's quite a bougie set of shoes that you want. I'll pay for the mid-range standard shoe, and then anything over the top of that you've got to save towards, and you'll pay for that, and that gets you from a standard shoe. So if you want that extra, then you're going to earn that and save for it and buy it for yourself. Things like pocket money, attached to their years of age. So kind of, we see parents signing up their kids to SquareOne from birth and just using it as a savings account.
Yeah.
And there's different parts of SquareOne that have utility at different ages and stages. So, thinking even with my own kids, for example, at the age of kind of 5, 6, they're not exactly using a card. They're not out transacting. They're not, going anywhere on their own after school or
That's
something
good
like
to hear.
that.
As someone who has a 5 or 6 year old, they're not randomly roaming the street.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. I don't know if you hear that, but
that's
Yeah.
I mean, that is a
5-year-old with
parent.
a pint.
That's on you, New Zealand. That's not something that SquareOne can
Yeah.
solve if your 5-year-old is unattended. So they're not using something like the card, for example, at that kind of age. They're starting to do some basic jobs and maybe starting to get a little bit of pocket money.
Yeah.
To start to see, and just I use the phrase all the time, connect the dots.
Yeah.
And then they can get a little bit older. At sort of 6, 7, 8, they're starting to actually go, okay, I might want to be saving for X. And then thinking of your teenagers, for example, who are out after school with their friends, and they want to be able to have their own card or Apple and Google Pay on their phone now. Like, we've got to face it, rightly or wrongly, kids have phones at kind of increasingly younger ages. So when you think of your teenagers and school leavers, pretty likely they're going to have a phone by then, and Apple and Google Pay, digital natives. So
I love, like, you go somebody getting paid $400 a week in pocket money, and you go, that is absolutely ridiculous. Now, as a top line, it is ridiculous. But I don't mind the idea at all of like your child, to some extent, depending on their age, running some sort of budget of like, here are all the fixed expenses, here is your discretionary, you're going to give a little bit away of it, you're going to save some. Because you think about like all the mortgage applications you're running, right? Like, what percentage of clients have any idea where their money is going?
About 10.
Yeah.
About 10%, I would say. I feel, it's a really interesting one, because to our point right at the start, we were talking about, money is almost a taboo subject in New Zealand. If you don't have a lot, you don't talk about it, these sorts of concepts. You can see that very clearly trickle through into the way that people manage their money. It's not that they just want to talk about it. They just want to put their head in the sand and go, so long as this card doesn't decline when I swipe it next, I'm happy, right? And I think that's a really dangerous path to be on when you're going through life, because, the card might not decline. You might always have some there, but you're not working towards any goal. And KiwiSaver can plug that gap to a degree because it is forcing you almost to make these contributions. But that doesn't actually mean the behavior patterns with how you spend your money or manage your money have changed, right? It might get you your first house or get you part of the way there. But then it's basically KiwiSaver forcing in themselves taking the deposit, the bank then forcing themselves taking the mortgage off. But the rest of people's money, their habits are still pretty poor.
Yeah. And the other bit that I love about the tool is like, we believe, and it's 100% true, your income is your greatest wealth creation asset, right? And what you are doing is creating foundations around how to manage expenses, because we've got people who earn a truckload of cash, but you know what? They spend a truckload of cash.
Yeah.
And
Plus,
I guarantee,
they spend 2 truckloads of cash. Yeah.
And you assume like, a doctor or a lawyer or a
surgeon,
or a CEO of a business would be able to like manage their expenses, but you just cannot make that assumption at all. So I love that it builds those like at that stage of their life. We know kids can kind of absorb information and learn quickly. They're building these skills that are going to set them up for the rest of their life.
Yeah, we have a surgeon who must be on like at least 80 grand a fortnight or something.
Yeah,
and is still stressed about money. Like, it is wild. Yeah,
it's the old hedonic creep. Sorry, not saying that your surgeon is a hedonic creep.
Yeah,
it's the hedonic lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
And that I think it was is it a French philosopher who got gifted a fabulous dressing gown. Do you know that story?
No.
Do you want to know it?
Yeah.
Okay, so he kind of lived in squalor, the classic kind of ye old French philosopher poet kind of character, and he got gifted by a patron. I think we'll have to fact check the daylights out of this to see if it's true, but he got gifted this amazing dressing gown, and then when he was sitting in his flat, pretty squalid sort of setup, and he thought, I really need some slippers to go with this dressing gown. And so he treated himself to a nice new set of slippers, and then he was sat there and he's like, well, this chair's a bit shabby, isn't it? And he had to go and upgrade his chair, and then the whole thing followed. And I think that's where that kind of the parable of the hedonic treadmill comes from.
Yeah. And it's just like the saying, like, if you can't manage $50,000 a year in income, you can't manage $500,000 a year in income. Like, people think like an extra $10,000 a year is going to make a difference to their life.
The thing that I like is that you think about, if I relate it to my own journey with money, my first week of university, when you just walk in and ASB is like, congratulations, here's a $2,000 credit card and here's a $2,000 overdraft. You're actually not even earning any money. You can't pay it back. And you just think like the amount of, when I was starting new, the amount of people who were like, it's free money. Awesome, I just got $4,000, like rock and roll.
Yeah.
And it took me, I was probably working. I'd probably gone through university and was working before I actually paid that off. Like, and it's just like, I'm not saying it's predatory from the banks, but
it's 100% predatory.
But if you turn around and go, that's fine. But if the behavior with money had been different, if someone had, if you've grown up with a tool like this where you go, actually, I relate income and money and the ability to make choices to earning that, would you go out and like everyone else I was with? Because I would say 99% of it we went straight to the uni bar and just like wasted the whole thing.
Yeah, totally.
And it's fun, but
One
it's
hell of
not-
an O week.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like, I guess money's also been abstracted, right? Since the dawn of any kind of trade, there's been some sort of physical token that you could, that you could trade, and you could see your pile kind of grow and diminish. And that was a big part of why we started SquareOne as well, was realizing that we're the first generation of digital native parents. And the only thing, like, I remember FPOS coming out when I was at school. And so, the only thing our kids had ever seen was mum or dad just tap a card to get what you want, when you want, anywhere you go, 24/7. And it's essentially, if you think about it from a kid's perspective, that's a magic wand. And I just went, my God, that's the worst financial lesson you could ever give anyone, especially your own kids. Like, anywhere we go, 24/7, I've got this magic wand here, and just bang, 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 and we get what we want. And with no ability for them to see either the balance, doing this steadily as you do that, or what it takes to get that money to come in, to get the balance to go back up. And so even from, I'm guessing, do you say it's your son is 20 months old? So I'm guessing, if not already, pretty soon he'll be going like, I want to press the green button. And if you think about that from that really infantile perspective, that is a pure magic wand. Like, what an incredible amount of power. And before SquareOne existed, and looking at my kids, and thinking, what that means, the conversation you have with them is like, well, you know what, I'm an adult, you're a kid, and I've got this magic wand. You don't get one, and you'll get one when you're big enough and ugly enough, and when it's, you're an adult and you've left home, left school, then you'll get to have a go on it. And that's just like expecting, like, not having a learner's license, and then we're just going to hand you the keys and send you out on the southern motorway. So it's
and you think
absolute
about like that analogy in terms of the finances. There's crashes left, right, and center. You think about the amount of kids that are, the overdraft thing is 100% true. You think about the, we hear stories of like somebody wants to go on a holiday so they just rack up 10 grand on like a gym Visa card or whatever. Like there's car crashes left, right, and center.
Yep. So we view SquareOne, I guess, very much as that. In that analogy, that's your learner's license. It's the chance to get those experiences before you're just suddenly, you're out of home and you're beyond the influence of your parents.
I want to just you talked about like the physical cash component and moving towards where we're completely digital. What are your thoughts on like you're right, we've all been in that stage where you've spent a lot of money and you go, I don't want to look at my bank balance, it's going to be too depressing to look at. Versus if, when you had physical cash, you're seeing less and less money in the wallet, or you have to go to an ATM to get more. When you were thinking about SquareOne, was that part of like, how do we overcome that change where we don't have physical cash anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. Just that ability to be able to see your own balance is massively important, to see that going up and down. And to be clear, we're not here as proponent of cashless anything. Rightly, wrongly, I think that ship has kind of sailed, and we're in a pretty digital world now. And arguably that ship sailed in 1985. Around the time we were all born. Oh, you guys might be a bit younger than me, but
that's just the Botox.
That's a debate that was probably had decades ago. And so it is about, putting these tools, and it is a powerful tool. Like a SquareOne card is a full fat MasterCard that will work anywhere globally. It will work online. It will work contactlessly. It works with Apple and Google Pay. It's a pretty fully featured financial toolkit versus, say with a regular bank, you might need to wait till you're 13 or 14, and then you'll get an FPOS card, which says a card holder on it, which gives you a clue into how much they actually care about that customer. And that's just a mag stripe. It can't be used contactlessly. It can't be used to shop online, which is how kids want to transact these days. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful tool, and sort of just putting that power in their hands, always with the premise that the whole thing is within the guidelines as the sandbox as prescribed by mum, dad, the parent guardian. There's per transaction limits, there's daily limits, there's weekly limits you can set. You can decide whether the card works online, whether it works contactlessly, whether it works at all. So the parent, or guardian really does set the parameters of what that tool can and can't do. It's not just, here you go.
Before we move on, we talk all the time about planning and growing our wealth, but protecting that wealth is just as important. That's why having the right insurance in place can help when life goes unexpectedly.
And that's why this episode is brought to you by Partners Life, a New Zealand operated award-winning insurance provider with over 300,000 Kiwis insured and 89% of claims paid.
Partners Life understand that having some insurance is better than having no insurance. They have flexible and personalized solutions for any budget or situation.
Check out their website in our show notes below. And you mentioned that there's like a couple of things live at the moment, then you had 2 additional things coming around invest and give. Can you talk us through those?
Yeah. So the SquareOne worldview on money, as stated before, it's not that money is the most important thing. Being good with money lets you focus on those most important things. And so we see 5 pillars of financial capability. And once you master those, you move through from literacy to capability to maturity to financial well-being. And those 5 pillars are earn, spend, save, give, and invest. And so the earn, spend, save, we've covered a little bit. There's a bit more on save we can talk about. And then give and invest areas that we've got coming soon. So we'll have a V2 of SquareOne coming in the next kind of 6 to 12 months once we get through this next funding round that we're about to close.
Cool. And as a financial advisor, I'm always thinking about how do I sort of gamify finances to make it more interesting or keep them engaged. Is there anything in SquareOne, when you're building it, when you're thinking about the future around how you create that engagement and kind of gamify it so the kids are super invested of I need to get to this target or whatever it might be?
Yes. Can we come back to that? Because I realized that at the end of that question, I just waffled for a bit. I didn't actually really answer your question. So the give and invest areas. So on the surface, relatively self-explanatory. With give, what we're looking to do is partner with a range of charities. One of the big struggles that a lot of charities have is just with visibility and understanding and connecting with people who give them money, showing the results. So in SquareOne, you'll be able to select the causes that matter to you, and there'll be key charities in there, and then automatic roundups on every transaction or a portion of your earnings or your pocket money, like a lot of things, everything that we've built, a lot of control and granular flexibility in the hand of the customer is really important. So however you want to give to that charity. And again, that's that conversation where you sit down with your kids and it's hey, you earn this much. How much are you saving? How much is fun, play money that you can just spend on whatever? How much are you putting towards your ultra long-term goals? What are those? How much are you going to give? And then invest. That is a bit of a longer term play for us. But being able to essentially, make your investments in SquareOne.
Yeah, cool.
And then to the gamification point, we approach that really carefully because we realize we've got this immense responsibility now where we've got, we've onboarded 200,000 customers. And so that's in New Zealand only, and that's a massive cohort. That's it's a whole generation of New Zealanders where this is their first experience of money. Funny enough, it's for a lot of people now that will be the first piece of post you get, because who gets post anymore, right?
That's a good point.
And so
the banks,
there's
stuff. I've turned off the paper statements, still get them.
Yeah. So like it's your first piece of post. You have to come up with a signature. You get to set your first goal. You save towards your first transaction. You're earning your first money. Big lifetime memories. But we realize that comes with massive responsibility. And so, to gamify finance in an ethical way is a very key challenge and topic that we debate at length. And so we haven't massively we've got a million ideas. We're not short of ideas on how to do that. We've only applied like the gentlest layer. So things like being able to set a goal and then work towards it and see that progress bar tick up as you earn money. We don't want to optimize just for like time in app or more taps or app engagement for us. Yeah, totally right. There is, and I personally observe a lot of the sinister application of human behavioral psychology in a lot of apps. Definitely. And I'm just like, you really trying to do that to me? Make another purchase, spin the wheel. Like
you buy on like one click and then it takes like 3 clicks to actually make the payment.
Or the other one is like, say, Robinhood in the States, where you it comes up like a what is it, like a
slot machine?
It comes up like a slot machine where it just pops up like the pokies you win for stock.
The variable reward. There's such well understood like prime.
It's just evil
human mechanisms. And we're not equipped to deal with those.
And they can be wrapped around good messages. Like, say, for example, with like Robinhood or with like, say, Sharesies as well as another example. I mean, like Sharesies as an example. There is a conflict of interest Sharesies has with getting people to trade because that's how they make more money.
On the clock.
And and you just gotta like I get completely what you're saying in terms of, because when you said ethical to start with, I was like, how? But then time and app does make sense, but it's using it in a good way, right? It's about how do you like even the simple thing around the loading bar towards achieving the goal, or like if a family is saving for a holiday collectively or something like that, right? And they have like a storyboard and they can put up places they want to go to. Like they're all good uses of the tool. I want to switch. You mentioned something really interesting at the start around like you spent time overseas, you came back and you're surprised, shocked that, nothing had really changed. When you look at New Zealand on a global scale, how do we stack up in terms of financial literacy for kids compared to other parts of the world, and why do you think we are wherever we are?
And maybe it matters less what I think, but more what the evidence suggests. And what the evidence suggests is not great, unfortunately. We're lagging on the global stage in terms of financial capability and literacy, and have done for quite some time. I think there's definitely that element of the Kiwi humbleness that's kind of, I think, been innate to the culture and the Kiwi identity for a long time, where and we, tall poppy syndrome, right? That's a pretty widely observed anecdotal phenomenon, and so money's just probably traditionally been a little bit of a taboo topic. And in other countries, in some places there's no shame in sort of saying, what's your house worth and what do you earn? And it's talked about really openly. That's certainly not the case here, I think. So that would be one element that's led to it. And then it's not covered in school curriculum. And then the rest, I think, just becomes this like flywheel of inadequacy, where, your parents don't really know how to talk about it or deal with it because their parents didn't talk to them about it and deal with it with them. So that's how they talk to their kids about it. And it really, I think that's just, that would be my most high level summary of it.
And do you think that there's like actually a place in schools in New Zealand to teach these things? Or do you think actually, this is a parent's responsibility and hasn't been great till now, but we're going to change that?
I have to point to Dan Russell on this. He's our resident expert, and he has 25 years of educational experience and working in particularly sort of lower decile schools and working with kids who might fall through the educational cracks, etc., and focusing on financial literacy and capability for those kids. And so he's done a lot of the thinking, and I can just like share some of his thoughts and the evidence behind that. And he would say that the big missing piece is the link between school and home. And so yes, it's important, and there is a place in school, to answer your question, massively, to start teaching some of those lessons and financial capability and literacy. And then there's an equally big, or I would say personally, bigger responsibility, and I guess you guys will be the same, on the parent to deliver more of that, and not just kind of think that, okay, you're 5 now and you go to school and now you're the government's problem. To think about and to educate and entertain and keep busy and to turn into a well-rounded human being. So I think massive onus on what's happening at home, and kind of the missing piece is like that bridge between school and home, to get those two aligned and all singing from the same hymn sheet, working together.
Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting you say that, because if you show me your parents, I'll show you what the kids' finances are going to look like in the future. Like the amount of time, like the parents are the role models, right? And I think there's two components. Like you talk about being open with, without spooking the kids going to lose the house tomorrow or anything. But this is what's happening with the finances, and we're saving towards this thing, and we're not going to do this because we're doing this other thing instead. And then on the flip side, I've run into mums that have been to have $20,000 in credit card debt, and then the son's got $20,000 in credit card debt, and they're talking about buying a holiday home, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, there's no like understanding of like those really core basic skills going. This is all going in the wrong direction, and the problem is the way you're thinking about it is not how you're going to get out of the situation. So yeah, 100, like the comment around you're 5 now, you're the government's problem. Like, isn't that a terrifying concept by itself?
You see it online all the time, right? With people like, oh, I got taught algebra at school and I never use that, but I don't know how to do a tax return with this. I'm like, I don't think you can just lump it on the education system of like, oh, they should have taught us this instead of this.
Like, why isn't that taught in school?
Yeah, I'm like, your parents aren't going to teach you bloody trigonometry at home. Like you gotta, it's more like you said, about finding that balance between how do we get the two working together, right? Like, what is a really good way to connect that dot between the education system and whatever they can do, because Lord knows they've got enough on their plate at the moment.
Absolutely.
And then how do we make sure that they have the fundamentals at home so you can connect those dots?
Yeah, and we're certainly not throwing rocks at schools and what's being done. There's a lot of effort put in, and under-resourced, overworked people. My mum was a teacher, so kind of get that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that it's not about the teacher, it's not about the school, it's about the curriculum, the prioritization. These are complicated things to deal with. It is not just on the school or just on the parents. It's a combination of the two, but just fundamentally going, okay, like the purpose of school is to prepare your children to be productive members of society that do good by people and have the basic skills to kind of to join the workforce, do their thing. And you think about like the money component. If you don't have the money component, those just basic skills, it's just going to make it so much harder.
Is that the role of schools? Or is the role of schools to educate you to a standard where you can go out and get a job? Like, there's nothing really in there about I don't think there's anything more existential in a school or about being, someone good in society or something like that. It's literally just like, here's minimum education so you can enter the workforce.
Yeah, join our next episode where we talk about the role of schools. So for the parents that are listening, what would be, and go like, because there will be people who have searched this episode where they're thinking, I want to start to think about how I can help my kids. What are like maybe the parents aren't that good with money. Maybe they haven't had any conversations with their kids around money yet. Where are some good places to start?
I could say it all starts at SquareOne and give us a massive plug.
And you should.
You should. I mean,
Thank you.
but I don't think there's any reason why you if the two, fundamentally, obviously, it's your product, you believe in it. You know, if I take James's question super literally around we're terrible with money, we're realizing we're terrible with money. Crap, we've got to teach our kids about it. Surely, SquareOne must be great. Here's a step-by-step play. Here's some ideas of how you can really plug in and get this thing going.
Yep, we hear that a lot. It's a very common theme that SquareOne parents they've come to the realization that they didn't necessarily have the best education around money literacy capability when they were growing up, and exactly the same as me and Jamie as co-founders came to that realization that we wanted something better for our kids. It's super common, and so sort of, I guess, to your question, where to begin, it's just I think it's as simple as even scheduling a regular, if it's weekly, sit down with your child, your kids, and say, okay, this is the money talk, and whether or not that involves a toolkit like a SquareOne, it might be talking, as you're saying, about the household budget. Here's what's coming in, and we're going to sit down and show you how a budget works. Really start with those kind of basics and just having that conversation. And it is all about little and often. Sit down for 4 hours and blast someone with trigonometry or whatever it might be, advanced algebra. They're not going to come away and be a mathematical genius. But sit down with them every day for 3 minutes over, and give that a couple of years. And that, massive compounding effect.
Small consistent steps over time.
100%.
It's like anything, eh?
Yeah. Do you want to hear my thoughts on my pocket money system with Cooper before we wrap up?
Do you want to? Because at the start of this, I said my parents, both bankers, didn't really give me financial education. Before you do that, I do want to redeem them. They did try to give me financial education. I remember once my dad was like, okay, instead of giving you weekly pocket money, I'm going to give it to you at the start of the month and you've got to make it last. I don't remember this. My sister was telling me about it not too long ago. And she was like, you spent it all on, you literally just got it, went straight down to the dairy, spent it all, came back and was like, I'm out.
Yeah. Just give you an hindsight into trying to parent Mike. Frosted blonde tips, nipple piercing, off to the GC went. I don't know how to segue back to my son off the back.
So anyway, back to Cooper.
But so the system I thought about, and the comment section's been coming for us recently, so I'm sure there'll be some good responses in the comments. It's interesting you talk about making the bed and does that deserve pocket money. I thought about gate opener system. So you have to do
a high watermark.
No, you have to make the bed, do minimum tasks before pocket money becomes available to you.
So now you've unlocked level 2.
You've got your minminimum performance KPIs.
100%.
The bonus level on
100%. It's a KPI system. I see Georgia laughing in the background. So there's going to be a minimum expectation of what he needs to do. And then I'm going to create it like any economy where your ability to earn is completely dependent on what you do. So there will be lots of chores within the household, and then at some point we plan on having another child, and I'm going to create a competitive...
The official cash rate came down today, James.
Yeah.
You told me. It's the indicator for you having another
child.
child.
Do not tell Hannah. I look forward to child number 2, obviously because I love them, but mainly because that now we've got a competitive job market where there will be a list. There will be a list of jobs for the week, and they will compete over the jobs.
You're going to go reverse tender.
The jobs.
I like that.
Squeezing their margin as the market becomes harder.
I know you're doing this for outside. I just want a quick question. Have you ever thought about wrapping school into that? Like performance at school into pocket money? Because that's something I always thought about. I don't have any kids, but I always think about this when we're talking about pocket money in school and behavior around I guess the kids and how they interact with money. And to your point about I would almost put like, I was thinking something like, making your bed, cleaning your room, those are that kind of minimum benchmark. And then your performance at school is like work. I've always thought of like that as a way to try and tie kids into actually doing well at school.
Yeah, Jovan, I know I'll ask you a couple of these questions. You kind of like, I know you're like one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
But what do you think about like giving kids financial reward for performing well at school? And I know a lot of families won't be in a position to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But just like as a concept, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'll be Mr. Diplomatic again.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. I think there's some merit to it, and like all things, can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Where you want to build the intrinsic motivation rather than external. So you've really got to, and again, it's
Very good point.
Yeah.
doesn't just apply to money habits. It's all things. Yeah, I've got the benefit of my kids being a decade or so in front of you, I guess, and so thinking carefully about that. And again, like pre-SquareOne, one of the things I noticed really quickly was just how quickly kids pick up on things and run with it. So pre-SquareOne, I started saying to my eldest, she was 7, 8 at the time, okay, let's try, because we need to start doing some like pocket money and jobs and stuff for you. We'll say it's $2 to empty the dishwasher. We'll try that. Okay, cool. We managed to get the dishwasher emptied. That's worth $2. And then literally we did that twice. And then the next time I said, hey, can you come help me with the firewood, please? Yeah, Dad, what are you going to pay me?
Yeah.
And I went, ooh, lethal. Like that's instant connection. And I was like, no, we need to straighten some things out here.
Yeah.
That's not how this is going to work.
Okay, well, that's interesting that she's picked up on that really quickly with the firewood. What system, just because I'm very keen to work out what I'm going to do down the road, what system have you got now that you're a little bit further ahead in the parenting game than me?
Starting with $1 per week pocket money for your year of age. So if you're 5, you get $5 a week. If you're 10, you get $10 a week. And that happens irrespective of anything else. And then, as you say, there's also a bit of a gate to get that. There's expectations that you can sit down and communicate around. We're helping with getting ready for school in the morning. We're making our own lunches. We're all these things. And trying to get kids to, I'm definitely a believer in, if you can do it for yourself, then you should, and give them as much responsibility as they are able to carry. And then, that $1 per week per year of age is automatic. And then, you're able to set your savings goals. One thing we built in SquareOne, we call it Pocket Boost. You can think of it as like parent interest. It's funded by the parent. So you say, okay, you're saving for this like a significant goal, a bike, whatever it might be. And your $3 a week pocket money is going to take you 100 weeks to get there, which it's not going to work. We need to accelerate that. So you can apply parent interest to that pocket. And so we can say, I want a 3% interest rate on that pocket. You can sit down and have that conversation. What does 3% interest rate mean? Or I can apply, match it dollar for dollar and help you kind of, so you can actually compound or rather compress how long it takes for that lesson to unfold. So we do a bit of that. And then, as mentioned before, if there's something like, good example is a pair of shoes and you want the Jordans because that's cool and that's what every teenager has to have.
I'll get you the rugged sharks and then you pay for the Jordans.
100.
Yeah, I love this. Honestly, I could sit here for easily another hour and keep going. Jovan, we're definitely getting you back to do more of this just because it's so fundamental to everything we believe in. And like when we're talking about financial plans, like everybody has the same 4 goals. They want to live in a certain house, have a certain lifestyle now, achieve financial freedom at a certain age, and give their kids a head start in life. And sometimes we might be talking about like helping them onto the property ladder or helping them with education. But fundamentally, the biggest thing is around the giving them it's you spoke about it before in terms of when it came to giving them money to perform well at school. Where does that motivation come from? Does it internal or external?
Yeah.
And like parents are thinking about this stuff all of the time. So we'll definitely get you back. For all of those that are listening that are thinking about all of these, have kids thinking about, where do I start? SquareOne, make sure to look it up, download the tool, give it a go. Really good starting conversation to have. Thank you very much for your time. I've really enjoyed this.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool.
Likewise.
And much love to Partners Life for sponsoring the episode. Please make sure to subscribe, review, like, and give us a comment. I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are around pocket money systems, all of this stuff around when it comes to kids and money. And we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.